The first scream came before Princess Wren Blackthorn reached the throne. Evelyn Reed was standing with 6 other laundresses behind a carved oak screen at the rear of the Great Hall when the sound cut through the court. She leaned just far enough to see past the screen. Beneath banners embroidered with the silver wolf of House Blackthorn, 8-year-old Wren stood rigid while 2 attendants settled a ceremonial cloak over her shoulders. Midnight blue velvet, silver thread, a high fur-lined collar fastened with a moonstone clasp. It was the princess's first public appearance in months. All morning, servants had whispered that the ceremony mattered more than any feast or treaty. Wren had not stood before the full court since the winter after her mother died. Some said she was ill. Others said cursed. Evelyn had learned quickly that Blackthorn preferred rumors to dangerous questions. King Ronan Blackthorn stood 3 steps below the throne, broad-shouldered and still, one hand near his sword. His face gave nothing away, but his attention never left his daughter. The cloak touched Wren's neck. Her fingers curled. For one heartbeat, no one moved. Then the little girl's eyes widened as if the air had vanished from the room. Her knees buckled. The woman behind her screamed and reached forward, but Wren collapsed before she could catch her. "Give her space," Dr. Lucian Vale ordered. The royal physician crossed the polished stone as Ronan dropped beside his daughter. Wren's face had gone pale, but 2 violent red patches were spreading along her throat where the collar had touched her skin. Her hands jerked against the floor. "Wren." Ronan's voice cracked through the hall. "Look at me." Her eyes did not focus. Something enormous slammed against the side doors. The guards turned as the doors burst inward, and Ash, the Queen's old dire wolf, charged into the hall. People scattered. Steel came free of scabbards in a metallic wave. Ash was nearly as tall as Evelyn's chest at the shoulder, his silver-gray coat bristling. He ran straight toward the princess. "Stop him!" Ronan drew his sword. Ash leaped. Evelyn expected blood. Instead, the wolf landed beside Wren, seized the ceremonial cloak in his jaws, and tore backward. The moonstone clasp snapped loose. The garment ripped away from the princess's throat. One guard raised a spear. "No!" Ronan roared. The spear stopped inches from Ash's ribs. The wolf shook the cloak clod. Wren dragged in a breath, thin and ragged, but a breath. Ronan dropped his sword and gathered his daughter against his chest. Lucian pressed 2 fingers to her throat, then looked toward the servants. "Water. Now. Clear this hall." The court broke into motion. Evelyn should have moved with the other laundresses, but she could not take her eyes off the cloak. Ash had torn the collar nearly in half. The velvet had split along the inner seam, exposing pale padding beneath the fur. Something powdery clung to it. Evelyn crouched. "Read," snapped Martha Crow, the royal wardrobe mistress. "Leave it." Evelyn did not touch the powder. A faint smell reached her from the torn seam, bitter first, then oddly sweet, with the green sharpness of crushed stems. Her stomach tightened. For a second she was 12 again, standing in her father's workroom as he slapped a bundle of dried purple flowers from her hand. Never breathe the dust, Evie. And never trust a small dose just because it isn't enough to kill you. Wolfsbane. The powder was not scattered across the velvet like moth treatment. It sat deep inside the seam, packed where the fabric would warm against a child's skin. She saw something else. The stitching along 3 inches of the collar was newer than the rest. Same dark thread. Different tension. Someone had opened it and sewn it closed again. "Move away from that garment," Lucian said. Evelyn looked up. He was standing now, Wren and Ronan's arms behind him. The princess's breathing had steadied, but she had not opened her eyes. Lucian's expression remained controlled. "It may be contaminated," he said. "No one touches it with bare hands. Take it outside, seal it if you can. If not, burn it. I don't care which. Just get it away from the child." Reasonable words. A guard wrapped one leather glove around the cloak's torn edge and lifted it. Evelyn stood. Her pulse thudded in her ears. She had been at Blackthorn Keep for 11 days. She was an Omega laundress with no rank, and exactly 3 silver coins left. Men like Ronan Blackthorn did not ask women like her what they thought during a royal emergency. The guard turned toward the roaring hearth. Evelyn saw the powder disappear into a fold of velvet. She remembered another room, another accusation, another group of powerful men deciding the answer before anyone examined the evidence. Her father had died with the word poisoner attached to his name. The guard took another step. Evelyn stepped out from behind the servant's screen. "Don't burn it." Silence spread through the great hall faster than the scream had. The guard stopped. Martha's face went white. Lucian slowly turned, and King Ronan Blackthorn, still holding his unconscious daughter against his chest, looked directly at Evelyn for the first time, without blinking. For several seconds, no one in the great hall seemed to breathe. King Ronan rose slowly, Princess Wren still limp against his chest. "What did you say?" Evelyn felt every eye turn toward her. The sensible answer was nothing. Apologize. Step back. Keep the job that paid for her bread and bed. Instead, she looked at the torn collar hanging from the guard's gloved hand. "I said don't burn it, Your Majesty." Martha Crow made a strangled sound behind her. Ronan's gaze sharpened. "Why?" Evelyn swallowed. "Because something was put inside the seam." Dr. Lucian Vale stepped closer, calm as ever. "The garment may have been treated against moths. Many court fabrics are." "Yes, sir." Evelyn kept her eyes on Ronan. "But moth powder is brushed across the cloth, or stored with it. This is packed beneath the lining." Lucian's expression barely changed. "You're a laundress?" "Yes." "And a physician?" "No." A murmur moved through the court. Evelyn felt heat rise into her face, but she did not retreat. "My father worked with herbs," she said. "I know the smell of wolfsbane." That silenced the room again. Ronan looked down at Wren. The red marks around her throat were already darkening. His jaw tightened. Lucian crouched beside them and examined the princess's neck without touching the irritated skin. "Wolfsbane has legitimate uses in controlled preparations. Trace contamination would not prove poisoning." "I know," Evelyn said. That made him glance at her. She continued before fear could close her throat. "I'm not saying who put it there. I'm saying the seam was opened recently, and whatever is inside it should be examined before anyone destroys the cloak." Ronan stared at her long enough that Evelyn became painfully aware of her plain gray dress, her rough hands, and the wet spot on her apron from that morning's washwater. Then he turned to Captain Gideon Cross, who stood near the eastern doors. "Seal it." Gideon nodded. "At once." "Not the physician's rooms," Ronan added. "My private archive. 2 guards at the door. No one touches it without my order." For the first time, Lucian's calm seemed to tighten at the edges. Only for a second. "Of course, Your Majesty," he said. "Precaution is wise." Ronan carried Wren from the hall himself. Ash followed 3 paces behind. The ceremony ended without anyone saying so. By noon, Evelyn was back in the lower laundry with her sleeves rolled to the elbow, scrubbing ceremonial table linens as if she had not interrupted the Alpha King before half the court. Martha Crow made sure she understood otherwise. "You have been here 11 days, the wardrobe mistress said, standing over Evelyn's wash basin. 11. And today, you spoke over a royal physician in front of the entire household." I answered the king's question. "You created the question." Evelyn wrung water from a linen runner. "Would you rather I had watched the evidence burn?" Martha's mouth thinned. She was a tall woman in her 50s, always dressed in severe charcoal wool, with a ring of wardrobe keys hanging from her belt. "You are not an investigator. You are not a healer. You wash what you are given, mend what you are assigned, and keep your opinions out of royal chambers." "Yes, ma'am." "And you will not approach Princess Wren." Evelyn paused. Martha noticed. "Did you hear me?" "Yes, ma'am." "Good." She walked away, keys clicking against her hip. Evelyn did not look after her. She kept working until the room emptied for supper, then carried a stack of washed bedding to the drying tables. One piece made her stop. A small pillowcase. The embroidered silver W on the corner marked it as Wren's. Evelyn had washed dozens like it since arriving at Blackthorn, but tonight she noticed a faint yellow-gray shadow along the inner edge where a child's face would rest. She lifted it carefully. Bitter, sweet, green. Her hands went cold. She filled a clean basin with hot water, dipped only the stained corner and watched. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then a thin blue-gray cloud seeped from the cloth and curled through the water. Evelyn stared at it. The cloak could have been contamination. One garment could have been an accident, but this pillowcase had never been anywhere near the Great Hall. Someone had put the same substance where Wren slept, and if Evelyn was right, Princess Wren Blackthorn had not been poisoned that morning. She had been poisoned for a long time. The pillowcase stayed in Evelyn's mind, through supper, through the clatter of dishes, through the final bell that sent most of the lower servants to bed. She did not tell anyone what she had found. Not yet. A blue-gray cloud in wash water was not proof. A smell was not proof. Evelyn knew too well what happened when frightened people turned suspicion into a verdict. Her father had been buried beneath one, so she rinsed the pillowcase 3 times, wrapped it in clean linen, and hid it beneath her work table. Then she began paying attention. By morning, she had 3 pieces of Princess Wren's laundry in front of her, a nightdress, a pillowcase, and a narrow cloth worn beneath the child's wrist brace. All 3 carried the same faint bitterness. Not everywhere. Only where the fabric rested against skin, neck, wrist, face. Evelyn laid them side by side. That was not careless contamination. Someone was choosing where the substance touched the child. For one dangerous second, Evelyn wondered if she had imagined the pattern because she wanted there to be one. Then she unfolded Wren's nightdress and found the residue concentrated beneath the collar seam. The rest of the fabric smelled only of soap. Her father had taught her that accidents spread without intention. Deliberate hands did not. That thought frightened her more than the wolfsbane itself. It meant the danger was already living inside the castle walls. "Read." Evelyn covered the fabrics as Martha Crow entered. "The east corridor bedding is ready?" "Yes, ma'am." "Then take it up." Evelyn looked at her. "You told me not to approach the princess." "I told you not to make yourself part of her affairs. Carrying sheets is still your job." She thrust a folded stack into Evelyn's arms. On top lay a fresh pillowcase embroidered with a silver W. "Leave them with the maid outside the royal rooms and come straight back." The royal wing was quieter than the rest of Blackthorn Keep. Warmer, guarded. Evelyn passed 2 armed men at the stair, and another outside a pair of carved doors. The maid Martha had mentioned was nowhere in sight. She should have left the linen on the bench. Instead, she noticed the door at the end of the corridor, standing open by an inch. A small wooden fox sat on the floor beyond it. One leg was broken. Then a pale hand appeared, grabbed the fox and vanished. "Princess Wren?" "Silence." Evelyn carried the bedding to the door and crouched. "I'm not coming in," she said. "These are clean. Nothing." She removed the old pillowcase from the stack. "This one doesn't smell like medicine." The door opened another inch. One gray-blue eye watched her through the gap. Up close, Wren looked smaller than she had in the Great Hall. Pale face, dark hair loose around her shoulders, purple shadows beneath her eyes. The wooden fox was clutched against her chest. "My name is Evelyn," she said. "You don't have to answer." Wren's gaze dropped to the fresh pillowcase. Behind her, a low growl rolled through the room. Evelyn froze. Ash emerged from the shadows beside the bed, silver-gray coat catching the winter light. His head lowered. his eyes fixed on her. She slowly placed the clean pillowcase on top of the stack and slid it across the floor. Ash sniffed it. The growl stopped. He sniffed again, then looked at Wren. The child knelt and touched the cloth with 2 fingers. Then she placed the wooden fox on top of it. Evelyn looked at the broken leg. That seems uncomfortable. Wren glanced at her. The fox, I mean. Something flickered in the girl's eyes. Evelyn pointed toward the toy. I mend linen all day. A fox leg can't be much worse than a torn sleeve. Wren did not hand it over. Evelyn did not ask. She stood. I'll leave the sheets here. As she turned, Wren lifted the fox, hesitated, then placed it on the edge of the doorway. An offering, hors permission. Evelyn crouched and picked it up carefully. I'll bring him back. Wren retreated, but did not close the door. Evelyn had taken only 3 steps when Ash moved past her so quickly that she nearly dropped the toy. His body went rigid. A young assistant in the dark green coat of the medical wing was approaching with a silver tray. 3 glass bottles rattled softly as he walked. Ash's lips peeled back from his teeth. The growl this time was nothing like the warning he had given Evelyn. Wren vanished behind the door. The assistant stopped. Ash, Evelyn whispered. The wolf did not look at her. His eyes were locked on the medicine tray. And when the assistant took one more step toward Princess Wren's room, Ash lunged. Ash moved faster than anyone expected. The medical assistant stumbled backward, the silver tray tilting in his hands. 1 bottle hit the floor and shattered. Bitter fumes rose at once. Ash stopped inches from the man's throat, not because the guards had drawn steel, not because the assistant screamed, because Evelyn stepped between them. Ash. The wolf's head snapped toward her. Evelyn could hear her own pulse in her ears. She had no idea whether a dire wolf listened to laundresses. She only knew that Wren was watching from behind the half-open door, and that fear had already ruled too much of the child's life. She lowered the wooden fox. Look at me. Ash's chest rumbled. Then his nose turned toward the broken bottle. The growl deepened. Captain Gideon Cross appeared at the far end of the corridor with 2 guards. What happened? The assistant pointed at Ash. The beast attacked me. No, Evelyn said. Everyone looked at her. He reacted to the tray. Gideon's eyes dropped to the broken glass. A medicinal smell spread through the corridor, sharp, metallic, and sweet underneath. Evelyn knew the sweetness. Not wolfsbane exactly. Something used with it. The assistant's face tightened. Those are the princess's prescribed tonics. Then perhaps the wolf dislikes the smell, Gideon said. It sounded dismissive, but his gaze stayed on the shattered bottle. Ash backed toward Wren's doorway, without taking his eyes off the remaining medicine. Gideon ordered the tray removed. Only when it disappeared around the corner did the wolf relax. Evelyn looked toward Wren. The door was closed. That afternoon she repaired the wooden fox. Its broken leg was too narrow for a nail, so Evelyn cut a strip from discarded linen, wrapped the joint, and bound it with thread until the little animal could stand again. She almost smiled when she tested it on the table. Better than new, said one of the laundresses nearby. Not better, Evelyn replied. Just able to stand. She carried the fox upstairs after supper. This time she stopped outside Wren's room and knocked once. No answer. Evelyn set the toy beside the door. I fixed him. She turned away. Behind her came the faint scrape of wood on stone. When Evelyn glanced back, the fox was gone. The next morning, it sat on the windowsill at the end of the royal corridor. Not hidden, displayed. Wren stood beside it. Evelyn did not approach. She only lifted one hand in greeting. Wren touched the fox's repaired leg. Then, very slowly, she nodded. That was the first milestone. The second came 2 nights later. At Evelyn's request, Martha allowed one set of Wren's bedding to be washed separately with nothing but plain soap and boiled water. Evelyn did not explain why. Martha did not ask, though her expression said she wanted to. The clean bedding went upstairs before dusk. The next morning, the maid assigned to Wren's rooms came down carrying the old sheets. She slept, the woman said. Evelyn looked up sharply. Through the night? Until sunrise. First time in weeks. The words landed harder than Evelyn expected. One night proved nothing, but it was something. The third milestone came from charcoal. Evelyn found Wren sitting on the floor near the hearth 3 days later. The wooden fox beside her and ash stretched across the rug. She placed a scrap of parchment and a piece of charcoal on the floor between them. Wren stared at it. "You don't have to talk to me," Evelyn said. "If there's something you want people to know, you can draw it." Wren did not move. Evelyn stood. Before she reached the door, charcoal scratched against parchment. She stopped but did not turn around. The scratching continued. When it finally stopped, Evelyn waited another few seconds before looking back. Wren had drawn a carriage. A woman sat inside. Beside her, a wolf. Behind the carriage stood a shape made almost entirely of black strokes. Then Wren drew a hand. One finger wore a ring. The symbol was small, but deliberate. A serpent curled around a narrow staff. Evelyn crouched. "Who is that?" Wren's face closed instantly. Evelyn regretted the question. "It's all right. You don't have to tell me." The girl pulled the parchment toward herself. A shadow moved beyond the doorway. Dr. Lucian Vale stood in the corridor. His gaze fell first on Evelyn, then the charcoal, then the drawing. For one brief second, something unreadable crossed his face. He smiled at Wren. "I see we're feeling creative today." Wren dropped the charcoal. Lucian continued past the door, as if nothing had happened. Evelyn stayed very still. A moment later, his voice carried back from the corridor. "Calm. Polite. Dangerously controlled. Who gave her the charcoal?" No one in the corridor answered him for several seconds. The question traveled through the royal corridor faster than any bell. By noon, Blackthorn Keep knew Lucian Vale had found Princess Wren drawing, and that the king wanted the new laundress brought to him. Evelyn was taken to a narrow council chamber overlooking the frozen courtyard. Ronan Blackthorn stood at the window with both hands braced against the sill. He did not turn when she entered. "Close the door." Captain Gideon Cross did. Evelyn stayed where she was. Ronan looked at her reflection in the glass. "You were told not to involve yourself in my daughter's care." "Yes, Your Majesty." "And yet you changed her bedding, repaired her toy, gave her charcoal, and questioned what the physician prescribed." "Yes." That made him turn. "You do understand that admitting everything so quickly does not make it less serious." "I'm not trying to make it less serious." Ronan studied her. "Then explain it." Evelyn thought of the bitter pillowcase, Ash's reaction to the medicine tray, and Wren's drawing. "She keeps trying to tell everyone something," Evelyn said. "Everyone keeps calling it an illness." Gideon's gaze shifted toward Ronan. The king's expression hardened. "My daughter has been ill for 3 years. I didn't say she wasn't. You are a laundress." "I know. Lucian Vale has treated this family for 15 years. "I know that too." "Then choose your next words carefully." Evelyn met his eyes. "One clean night of bedding, and she slept until morning." Ronan went still. "She hasn't done that in weeks," Gideon said quietly. Evelyn continued. "Ash stopped growling when he smelled the clean pillowcase. He nearly attacked the tray carrying her medicine. The old laundry has the same bitter residue I smelled in the cloak." Ronan's jaw tightened. "Do you have proof that the medicine is harming her?" "No." "Proof that Lucian has done anything wrong?" "No." "Then what exactly are you asking me to do?" "Give her 1 night." He frowned. "No new medicine. Fresh bedding. Clean night clothes. Nothing that has passed through the medical wing. 24 hours. That could endanger her. So could doing the same thing when something is clearly wrong." The room seemed to shrink. Gideon looked down, perhaps to hide a reaction. Ronan stepped closer. "You speak very freely for someone who has been in my castle less than 2 weeks. My father died because people with authority decided certainty was more important than questions." Something changed in Ronan's face. but only for an instant. Before he could answer, the door opened. Lucian entered without hurry. "You sent for me?" Ronan explained Evelyn's proposal. Lucian listened, then folded his hands behind his back. "I would advise against it." "Why?" Evelyn asked. His eyes moved to her. "Because Princess Wren's condition is unstable. Her tonics control tremors, nightmares, and sensory episodes. Removing them abruptly could trigger a severe relapse." "One night?" Ronan asked. Lucian hesitated. Barely there. But Evelyn saw it. The memory of that brief hesitation stayed with her afterward. "One night may tell us very little," he said. "Improvement could be coincidence. Decline could be dangerous." Ronan looked toward the courtyard. Then he made the decision. "One night. Gideon, you will control access to her rooms. Fresh linen from the lower laundry. No medicine unless she worsens." Lucian's mouth tightened. "As you command." That night, Evelyn barely slept. At dawn, she was already carrying folded sheets toward the royal wing when Gideon met her on the stairs. She ate breakfast. Evelyn stopped. "All of it?" "Bread, eggs, half an apple." He almost smiled. She asked for more honey. Evelyn stared at him. Wren had not asked for anything aloud, but the maid had understood her gesture. By mid-morning, the girl was on the balcony, wrapped in a plain wool blanket. Color had returned faintly to her cheeks. Ash lay beside her with his head on his paws. Ronan stood inside the doorway. He did not approach until Wren looked at him. "May I come closer?" The question seemed to surprise her. After a long pause, she nodded. Ronan took one step, then another. Wren's fingers tightened around the blanket. "It's all right," he said. "I won't make you talk." Her mouth opened. A sound came out so softly, Evelyn almost missed it. "Don't!" Ronan froze. Wren looked past him. Lucian stood at the far end of the corridor. The child's face drained of color. She stumbled backward, nearly tripping over Ash. "Wren?" She shook her head violently and pressed both hands over her mouth. Ash rose between her and the corridor. Lucian stopped where he was. "Your Majesty," he said carefully. "She may be overstimulated." Evelyn watched Wren's eyes. They were not on the balcony. They were not on her father. They were fixed on Lucian. Ronan saw it too. For the first time, doubt entered his face. Captain Gideon appeared behind them, breathing hard. "My king." Ronan turned. Gideon's expression told Evelyn something had happened before he spoke. "The cloak. What about it?" "The archive cabinet is still locked. The guards swear no one entered." Gideon paused. "But the cloak is gone." The missing cloak changed the castle. By sunset, every archive key had been counted. Every guard questioned. Every servant who had crossed the eastern hall named. The cabinet showed no damage. The lock had not been forced. Someone had opened it properly. Evelyn stood beside Captain Gideon in the archive room, while Ronan examined the empty shelf. "Who has access?" the king asked. Gideon unfolded a ledger. "You, me, the archivist, 2 senior clerks, and the physician?" Evelyn asked. "Not officially." Ronan's gaze sharpened. "Officially? Medical records are sometimes stored here. Dr. Vale has been admitted before under escort." Ronan said nothing. Evelyn crouched beside the cabinet. A dark thread clung to the lower hinge. She pinched it between 2 fingernails. "Martha uses black silk on royal garments," she said. Gideon glanced at it. "That narrows nothing." "No, but this does." She lifted a nightdress taken from Wren's room. Its collar had been opened and re-sewn. Evelyn held the seam beside the thread. Same thickness, same wax. Ronan stepped closer. "Can you tell who sewed it?" "No, but I can tell you who didn't." Evelyn ran her thumb over the knots beneath the collar. "A tailor ties flat knots, so they don't press against skin. These are narrow and tight." Gideon leaned closer. "I've seen those." "Where?" "Field hospitals." Ronan looked at him. "Surgeons use them when they close wounds." Silence filled the archive. Evelyn straightened. That doesn't prove a physician sewed this. No, Ronan said. It proves someone used a physician's knot. For the first time since she had met him, Evelyn heard him correct his own conclusion before it hardened into certainty. That mattered. Ronan moved the lamp closer. For several minutes they worked shoulder to shoulder, not as king and servant, but as two people studying the same problem. Evelyn noticed he never interrupted when she explained cloth or stitching. Ronan, in turn, seemed to notice that she never softened an answer merely because he disliked it. The tension between them shifted, sharpened by quiet mutual respect. They spent the next 2 hours opening wardrobe ledgers and medical inventories. Nothing obvious appeared. No entry read poison for the princess. But patterns emerged. Wren's nightclothes were replaced unusually often. Her bedding returned to laundry more frequently after medical examinations. Several garments were marked damaged, despite having no visible tears. Evelyn traced one entry. This nightdress was returned for collar repair. 3 days after I washed it. Ronan looked at the date. Lucian examined her that morning. Who else they entered? Her maid. Martha. 2 guards. And you? Ronan's face tightened. No. The answer carried more weight than Evelyn expected. You weren't visiting her then. It was not really a question. Ronan closed the book. Not often. Gideon gathered another stack of records and moved to the far table. Ronan spoke without looking at her. My wife died 3 years ago. Serena and Wren were traveling back from the southern estate when their carriage was attacked. Evelyn had heard the story in servant whispers. None had included Wren. She was there? She was 7 paces from her mother when Serena died. His voice stayed controlled, but only just. Wren stopped speaking soon after. Nightmares followed. Tremors. Sensitivity to sound. Lucian said trauma had damaged her wolf senses. He called it moon sickness. And you believed him? He kept Serena alive through 2 winters of fever. He delivered Wren. He served my father. Ronan finally looked at her. I had no reason not to. Evelyn thought about her father standing before a village magistrate, while men who had known him for years suddenly found reasons not to believe him. Trust could be earned. It could also become a blindfold. What does Wren remember about the attack? She asked. Ronan's eyes shifted. Very little. Did she tell you that? He did not answer immediately. Evelyn felt something inside her go cold. Your Majesty. Lucian said she could not remember clearly. He said questioning her would deepen the trauma. Ronan's expression changed as he understood the question before she asked it. Who told you your daughter couldn't remember? The room went still. Lucian. Neither spoke for several seconds. Then Ronan stepped away from the table. Do not accuse him. I didn't. You are thinking it. I'm thinking we don't know enough. His jaw tightened. Lucian has served this family for 15 years, and my father served his village for 20. The words struck harder than Evelyn intended. I'm not asking you to condemn him. I'm asking you not to protect him from questions because you're afraid of the answers. Ronan's eyes flashed. Careful. Evelyn held his gaze. Don't make an accusation you cannot prove, he said. Then don't make a verdict you cannot prove either. A knock sounded at the archive door. A guard entered, pale. My king, you need to come to the laundry. Evelyn's stomach tightened. Why? We searched Reed's work chest. Ronan went still. And? The guard opened his gloved hand. A small leather packet lay across his palm. Even through the waxed wrapping, Evelyn recognized the bittersweet smell. Wolfsbane. The smell reached Evelyn before anyone spoke. Wolfsbane. Not residue caught in cloth or powder hidden beneath a seam. A full packet, enough to kill a child many times over. Captain Gideon took it from the guard without touching the leather directly. Where exactly was this? In Reed's work chest, beneath folded mending cloth. Evelyn stared at him. That is not mine. Ronan's face had gone unreadable. The laundry room was crowded with guards. Servants pressed into the doorway. Martha Crow standing beside the washing tables, with both hands clenched around her ring of keys. At the far end, Lucian Vale watched in silence. Evelyn looked at Ronan. If I were poisoning Wren, why would I keep Wolfsbane in the first place? Anyone would search. Gideon glanced at the packet. She has a point. Lucian spoke gently. Or she believed no one would search her, because she had made herself useful. Evelyn turned toward him. He did not sound accusing. That made it worse. She identified the poison. Lucian continued. She gained access to the princess. She changed the child's bedding. She interfered with prescribed treatment. Then, evidence vanished from the archive. I did not take the cloak. I did not say you did. But you want everyone to think it. Lucian's expression remained calm. I want the king to consider every possibility. Ronan looked at Gideon. Was the chest locked? Yes. Who had the key? Reed. Martha cleared her throat. Laundry masters carry spare keys for every work chest. All eyes turned toward her. She stiffened. For emergencies. Inventory. Lost tools. Who can access those? Gideon asked. Myself. 2 senior laundresses. Sometimes wardrobe staff. The certainty in the room weakened. Evelyn saw Ronan notice it. Then a cry sounded from the corridor. Wren stood barefoot beyond the guards. Ash was beside her. The child's face was pale. Her wooden fox clutched against her chest. When she saw the packet in Gideon's hand, she recoiled. Evelyn moved instinctively. Wren. A guard blocked her. Ash growled. Move, Ronan ordered. The guard stepped aside, but Wren did not go to her father. She went to Evelyn. She caught Evelyn's sleeve with one hand. No, Wren whispered. The single word nearly broke the room open. Ronan stared at his daughter. Lucian stepped forward. Your Majesty, she is distressed. This is exactly the kind of overstimulation I warned. Ash swung toward him with a snarl. Gideon's hand went to his sword. Lucian stopped. Wren gripped Evelyn harder. For several seconds, Ronan looked at the child, the wolf, the packet, and Evelyn. He had reasons to doubt what lay in front of him. Evelyn could see that he knew it. Then Lucian lowered his voice. If the packet is hers and you hesitate because you have grown to trust her, the next dose may not leave your daughter breathing long enough for us to debate it. Ronan's eyes closed for half a heartbeat. When they opened, the king had returned. Confine Evelyn Reed to the old guard quarters. Wren made a small sound. Evelyn did not. Gideon looked at Ronan. My king, the evidence is unusually convenient. I know. Then perhaps, I said, confine her, not condemn her. Evelyn laughed once. Without humor, Ronan's gaze snapped to her. My father heard almost the same words, she said. We have enough evidence. We only need time to sort out the rest. No one ever sorted out the rest. His expression shifted. She pulled her sleeve gently from Wren's fingers. You wanted me to tell you when the evidence did not make sense. I did. Now it is easier to lock me away than admit someone may be using your fear against you. Ronan's jaw tightened. Take her. Gideon did it himself. He did not bind Evelyn's hands. That kindness almost made it worse. The old guard quarters were 2 stone rooms beneath the western stair. Evelyn spent the first hours sitting on a narrow cot, listening to boots pass beyond the door. Near midnight, the lock opened. Ronan entered alone. He looked exhausted. Wren is worse, he said. Evelyn stood. What did Lucian give her? Her usual treatment. Then stop it. He says her decline is from distress. And you believe him? Ronan flinched. I'm trying to protect my daughter. Then protect her. Evelyn stepped closer to the bars. Do not protect your decision. The words landed between them. Ronan looked away. She is trembling again, he said. She will not eat. She keeps asking for you. Evelyn closed her eyes briefly. Fresh bedding. Remove anything that came through the medical wing. Do not let anyone give her medicine alone. He looked at her. You are still helping me. I am helping, Ren. The distinction was deliberate. Ronan nodded once and left. Hours later, scratching sounded outside the door. Evelyn assumed it was a rat until a guard shouted. Then came a growl so deep, the iron latch vibrated. Ash stood in the corridor. 2 guards kept their distance while the wolf planted himself before Evelyn's door. Something dark hung from his jaws. Gideon arrived moments later carrying a lamp. Ash, he said carefully. Drop it. The wolf released the fabric. It landed on the stone. A torn sleeve. Dark green wool. Medical green. Gideon crouched and turned it over. A silver embroidered initial showed near the cuff. LV. The corridor went silent. Ash lowered himself in front of Evelyn's door and refused to move. When footsteps approached from the stair above, the wolf lifted his head. Dr. Lucian Vale appeared at the landing. Ash bared his teeth. This time, no one in the corridor mistook the wolf's warning for an attack. And Ronan approached. The wolf's growl did what Evelyn's arguments had not. It made everyone stop. Ronan came down the stairs slowly, his eyes moving from Ash to the torn green sleeve on the floor, then to Lucian standing at the landing. Whose coat? He asked. Gideon lifted the fabric. Dr. Vale's. Lucian's expression did not change. One of my old coats was torn yesterday in the lower courtyard. I sent it to be discarded. Convenient, Gideon said. Lucian looked at him. Not everything that is convenient is false. Ronan turned toward Evelyn's locked door. Open it. The guard obeyed. Evelyn stepped into the corridor, but Ronan raised a hand before she could speak. You are released from confinement. You are not cleared. I didn't ask to be. His jaw tightened, but he let the answer pass. A cry came from above. Not loud. Worse than loud. Ren. Ronan was already running. They reached the royal rooms to find the child curled on the floor beside her bed, both hands clawing at the collar of her nightdress. Her breathing came in sharp, broken pulls. A maid knelt nearby, terrified to touch her. Lucian moved toward Ren. The girl saw him. She recoiled so violently that she struck the bed frame. No. The word came out cracked but clear. Lucian stopped. Ren, Ronan said, dropping beside her. No one will touch you unless you want them to. For the first time, he looked to his daughter before the physician. Ren grabbed the cup on the bedside table. Lucian had prepared it earlier, a pale tonic that smelled faintly medicinal even from the doorway. She stared at it, then hurled it onto the floor. The cup shattered. Ash stepped between Ren and Lucian. Evelyn crossed the room slowly. May I look at your nightdress? Ren nodded. Evelyn helped her remove it and wrapped her in a clean blanket. The moment the garment came free, Ren's hands stopped scratching at her throat. Evelyn carried the nightdress to the window. The collar looked ordinary, until she turned it inside out. 3 stitches near the shoulder were darker than the rest. Her pulse quickened. Gideon. Knife. He handed her a small blade. Evelyn cut 1 stitch, then another. Blue-gray powder appeared beneath the folded seam. Ronan swore under his breath. This dress came from my laundry yesterday, Evelyn said. I inspected it before it left. Martha Crow, standing near the door, went pale. I logged it myself. So the poison was added afterward, Gideon said. After laundry, Evelyn replied. Before Ren wore it, Ronan looked around the room. Who had access? Martha answered carefully. Myself. The princess's maid. Medical staff during her evening examination. 2 guards posted outside. Lucian's face hardened. You are implying... I am listing access, Ronan said. Nothing more. Evelyn heard the difference. So did Lucian. Captain Gideon ordered the room sealed and began separating witnesses. Evelyn stayed with Ren, while Ronan removed every garment, blanket, and pillow that had passed through the medical wing. Fresh linen replaced all of it. Lucian's tonics remained untouched. When he protested, Ronan did not raise his voice. My daughter refused them. She is 8. She is still allowed to say no. Ren looked at her father then, something almost like surprise in her eyes. By morning, the tremors had eased, not vanished. Eased. Enough. Gideon returned before breakfast with mud on his boots and a ledger under one arm. I checked the service gate records. Ronan took the book. A herb merchant named Silas Trent has delivered to the medical wing every 3 weeks for nearly a year. The orders are signed under general treatment stock. Wolfsbane? Evane asked. Among other things. How much? More than this household should need. Lucian folded his arms. Wolfsbane is used in controlled treatments for infected bites, nerve pain, and certain wolf disorders. Evelyn looked at Ren. Then why is it hidden in seams? Lucian did not answer. Gideon placed another item on the table. A narrow strip of thread, found in the medical sewing cabinet. Evelyn compared it to the thread from Ren's nightdress. Same wax, same thickness. Ronan's face became very still. Still not proof, Evelyn said. Gideon nodded. No, but it is a pattern. Ren, sitting near the fire with her wooden fox in her lap, reached for the charcoal Evelyn had left days earlier. She began to draw. This time, no one interrupted her. The carriage appeared first, then the woman inside, then the dark hand. The ring came last. A serpent wrapped around a staff. Gideon frowned. Medical guild mark. Lucian's mouth tightened. Ren's charcoal snapped. She dropped it and pressed both hands over her ears. Ronan immediately knelt beside her. That's enough. You don't have to remember anything else. Ren looked at him, then slowly placed one hand over his. Evelyn turned away, giving them the privacy of that small victory. Gideon did not. He was staring at the drawing. I've seen that mark somewhere else. He left, before Ronan could stop him. Hours passed. By nightfall, snow had begun striking the windows hard enough to sound like gravel. Evelyn sat beside Ren while the child slept under plain white linen. Ash lay across the doorway. Ronan stood near the fire, silent. The door opened. Gideon entered carrying a second ledger, this one older, its leather cover cracked with age. I found the supplier books from 3 years ago. Ronan stepped forward. Gideon opened to a marked page. 2 weeks before Queen Serena died, Lucian Vale ordered wolfsbane under the medical seal. Lucian, standing across the room, said nothing. Gideon looked down at the amount. Then, back at the king. 12 times. The normal quantity for blackthorn. The number hung in the room. 12 times. Ronan took the ledger from Gideon and read the entry twice. Lucian Vale stood across from him, his face composed, but the stillness had become effort now. Explain it, Ronan said. Lucian's gaze moved to the page. 3 years ago, we had soldiers returning from the eastern border with infected wolf bites. Wolfsbane was part of several treatments. Gideon opened another ledger. Those soldiers were treated at the garrison infirmary. Their supplies were billed separately. Silence. Evelyn watched Lucian's eyes change. Not fear. Calculation. Ronan saw it too. Where did this quantity go? I would have to review records. You have had 3 years. Lucian's jaw tightened. A knock sounded. Gideon opened the door and admitted an elderly man wrapped in a snow-dusted cloak. He carried a leather case and leaned on a carved cane. This is Silas Trent, Gideon said. He supplied the medical wing before his son took over the business. Lucian's expression finally cracked. Only slightly. Silas bowed to Ronan. Your Majesty, do you remember this order? The old apothecary examined the ledger. I remember because I argued about it. Dr. Vale didn't want dried wolfsbane. He wanted a diluted preparation suspended in bitter root oil. Ash lifted his head from the doorway. Evelyn looked at the wolf. Bitter root, she said. Silas nodded. Keeps the dose stable and masks some of the sharper scent. The medicine tray? Evelyn said. That was what Ash smelled. And the cloak. Gideon added. Ronan looked at Lucian. What was it for? Lucian gave a tired exhale. Serena suffered nerve pain after the winter fever. My wife hated Wolfsbane. She hated many medicines. She refused it. Lucian said nothing. Ronan stepped toward him. Did she know you were giving it to her? No. The answer came too quickly. Ren stirred by the fire. Everyone looked at her. Lucian seemed to realize what he had admitted. Evelyn's voice was quiet. Why hide medicine from the queen? Lucian's composure thinned. Because she was irrational about certain treatments. Silas shook his head. That was not what you told me. Lucian turned. The old man continued. You said the preparation had to leave no obvious taste because the patient would reject it if she knew what it was. Ronan's face changed. Guards. 2 men moved to the door. Lucian lifted one hand. If you arrest me because an old merchant remembers a conversation from 3 years ago, you will regret it. No one is arresting you yet, Ronan said. You are going to answer. Gideon placed a second sheet on the table. We found payments from the medical accounts to a broker in Grafen, same months as missing restricted medicines. Lucian went pale. Evelyn understood before Ronan spoke. You were selling royal stock. Lucian looked at the king. Not poison. Medicine. Supplies Blackthorn had in excess. Grafen paid well. Grafen was supplying our rivals. I did not know that at first. And when Serena discovered it? Lucian's mouth closed. Ronan's voice dropped. What did you do to my wife? I needed time. Ren's fingers tightened around her wooden fox. Lucian looked toward her, then away. Serena found the accounts. She intended to bring them before the council. I gave her enough wolfsbane to weaken her senses for a day. I meant to recover the records before she could act. Ronan's hands curled into fists. The carriage attack? I did not arrange it. Did you know it was coming? No. For the first time, Lucian sounded desperate. I swear it. The ambush was not mine. But Serena could not shift, Gideon said. Lucian closed his eyes. No. The word barely carried. She couldn't protect herself because of what you gave her, Ronan said. Lucian looked broken now, but Evelyn felt no pity. And Ren? She asked. His eyes moved to the child. That was answer enough. She saw you, Evelyn said. She saw fragments. So you kept her sick. I kept her calm. You poisoned an 8-year-old child. I controlled the dose. Ash stood. The room seemed to shrink around the wolf. Lucian backed away. I never intended to kill her. Ronan's voice became colder than Evelyn had ever heard it. That is not a defense. Ren made a small sound. Ronan turned immediately and knelt beside her. You do not have to say anything, he told her. Do you hear me? None of this is yours to prove. You don't owe anyone a memory. Ren stared at him. Lucian swallowed. Then Ren set the wooden fox aside. He told Mama it would help. No one moved. Her voice trembled, but she continued. Mama said no. Ronan's eyes closed. Ren pointed at Lucian. He put it in her tea anyway. Lucian stepped backward. The guard seized him. No, he said. She was a child. Her memory is damaged. Ronan rose. My daughter is not on trial. His voice filled the chamber. You are. Lucian was taken away under guard. By morning, Ronan had ordered the medical wing sealed, every account opened, every patient treated by Lucian reviewed, and formal charges prepared for treason, unlawful poisoning, falsification of royal records, and the poisoning of Princess Ren. He did not order an execution. He ordered a trial. When the chamber finally emptied, Ren sat beside Evelyn with Ash at her feet. Outside, the storm that had battered Blackthorn all night began to weaken, leaving the first thin line of dawn across the frozen window glass. Ronan stopped in front of his daughter. For years he had demanded answers from silence. This time he asked only one question. May I sit with you? Ren looked at the empty chair beside her. Then she nodded. Lucian Vale's arrest did not make Blackthorn keep warm overnight. For days, The castle moved through stunned silence. The medical wing remained sealed. Gideon questioned servants and guards. Martha Crow opened every royal garment she could find, checking seams with her own hands. Wren slept. Not perfectly. Some nights she woke crying. Some mornings she refused breakfast. Once, when a glass bottle shattered below, she crawled beneath her bed and would not come out for nearly an hour. No one called it moon sickness anymore, and no one forced her out. Ronan sat on the floor outside the bed until she was ready. Evelyn saw the change in small things. He asked before entering Wren's room. He stopped physicians from speaking over her. He let her choose whether Ash slept beside the bed or outside the door. When she did not want to talk, he did not fill the silence. 3 days after Lucian's arrest, Ronan summoned the household to the Great Hall. Evelyn expected another announcement about the investigation. Instead, the king stood beneath the silver wolf banners with a document bearing the royal seal. "Evelyn Reed," he said. Her stomach tightened. She stepped forward. Ronan looked past her at the servants, guards, stewards, and nobles gathered in the hall. Evidence was planted in Evelyn Reed's work chest. She was falsely confined under my authority. The accusation against her is withdrawn, and the royal record will state plainly that she committed no crime against my daughter or this house. No one moved. Her wages will be restored. Compensation will be paid from my private treasury. Anyone who repeats the accusation as fact after today will answer to the crown. Then his eyes returned to Evelyn. I was wrong. Simple words. That made them heavier. Evelyn had imagined powerful men apologizing before. In those imaginings, they always explained themselves until the apology became another defense. Ronan did not. He handed the sealed document to her. That evening, he found her in the lower laundry folding linen. "I owe you more than a public statement," he said. Evelyn did not stop working. "You owed me the public statement." "Yes." That answer made her look up. Ronan stood without crown or cloak, looking less like the Alpha King than the father she had seen beside Wren's bed. "I cannot undo what I did," he said. "I can only make sure I never ask fear to make my decisions for me again. That will take practice." I assumed it would. A small smile touched her mouth. He placed a second document on the table. An offer. Keeper of royal textiles and remedies. You would oversee fabric safety, medicinal storage connected to household use, and anything that reaches Wren's rooms. Because I saved your daughter? Because you found what everyone else missed. That answer mattered. Evelyn picked up the document. And if I say yes? You report to Martha on textiles, Gideon on security concerns, and no physician outranks you inside your duties. You have been thinking about this. Gideon says I do it occasionally. She laughed. Ronan's expression softened. And me? He asked quietly. Evelyn met his eyes. You will have to earn that separately. I assumed that too. Spring reached Blackthorn slowly. By the time the snow disappeared from the courtyard, Wren could cross the great hall without holding anyone's hand. She still carried the repaired wooden fox in her pocket. Ash still followed her everywhere. On the first clear morning of the season, the court gathered for Wren's postponed presentation. A new ceremonial cloak waited beside the throne. Wren stopped when she saw it. The hall went silent. Ronan did not reach for the cloak. You don't have to wear it, he said. Wren looked at Evelyn. Every seam had been opened, inspected, and sewn shut again under Evelyn's supervision. Evelyn nodded once. Wren walked forward and lifted the cloak herself. Ash sniffed the collar and sat down. Only then did Wren settle the velvet around her shoulders. Nothing happened. No trembling. No scream. No child collapsing against cold stone. Ronan stepped beside his daughter, rather than in front of her. Evelyn stood on Wren's other side. The princess looked across the same hall where fear had once decided what everyone believed about her. For the first time, the silence did not feel like judgment. It felt like people waiting. Wren took a breath. I'm ready, she said. And this time, the whole hall listened.